I'm a 29-year-old guy, and up until a few months ago, I thought I was about to marry the love of my life. I met my fiancée 3 years ago through mutual friends. Let's call her Em. She was beautiful, confident, and had this charm about her that could draw people in effortlessly. At first, it felt like a dream, but dreams, as I've learned, can turn into nightmares. The story begins a few weeks before what was supposed to be our wedding. We were in the thick of wedding preparations, choosing venues, picking caterers, and dealing with the typical stresses of planning a big event. It was exhausting but exciting, until one evening when I noticed something was off. I had this watch, an old, slightly scratched-up pocket watch that belonged to my late grandfather. It wasn't valuable in terms of money, but sentimentally, it was priceless. My grandfather wore that watch every day, even during the toughest years of his life. After he passed, he left it to me in his will, and I kept it in a glass display case on a shelf in my home office. I would sometimes take it out just to hold it and remember him. That night, I went to the office to grab something, and the watch was gone. At first, I thought maybe I'd moved it without thinking or misplaced it during some recent cleaning. I tore the place apart searching, drawers, boxes, even behind furniture. Nothing. My heart sank. That watch wasn't something I'd ever misplace. Panic turned to suspicion. Em had been spending more time in my office lately, using my computer for wedding planning. I decided to ask her about it. "Hey, have you seen my grandfather's watch?" "It's not in the case," I said as casually as I could. Her face froze for a moment before she smiled. "Oh yeah, I borrowed it for something. It's safe, don't worry." I frowned. "What do you mean, borrowed it? For what?" She hesitated before saying, "You know how every bride needs something old for her wedding? I thought the watch would be perfect. It's meaningful, right?" My stomach turned. That watch isn't some random accessory. It belonged to my grandfather. You can't just take it without asking." Her smile faltered, and she crossed her arms. "Well, it's not like I took it permanently. I was going to give it back after the wedding." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "That's not the point. It's a family heirloom. If you'd asked, I could have explained why it's not something I want to be used like that." "Where is it now?" Her expression shifted, defensive now. "Relax. I gave it to the jeweler to have it cleaned and polished. You should be thanking me, honestly. It'll look amazing in the photos." My jaw dropped. "You did what? You handed my grandfather's watch to some jeweler without telling me? Do you even realize how much that watch means to me?" She rolled her eyes. "Stop overreacting. It's just a watch, and it's for our wedding. Can you not make everything about you for once?" Her words hit me like a slap, but before I could respond, she stormed off, muttering about how I was being selfish. The next day, I went straight to the jeweler. I wanted that watch back immediately. When I arrived and explained the situation, the jeweler, an older gentleman, looked confused. "Oh yes, she brought in a pocket watch," he said, "but she didn't ask for a cleaning. She wanted me to alter it, to add some engravings and replace the original chain with something more modern. I've started the engraving process, but I couldn't believe it. She hadn't just taken the watch. She was trying to change it entirely, erasing the very essence of what made it special. I demanded the watch back immediately, but the jeweler told me he needed a few hours to undo the engraving safely. I waited in my car, fuming, until the watch was back in my hands. The engraving hadn't been completed, but there were small marks where they'd started. The original chain was gone, replaced with a cheap, gaudy one. It was like seeing a piece of my grandfather desecrated. When I got home, Em wasn't there. I texted her, "I got the watch back. We need to talk." Her response came hours later. "Can we do this tomorrow? I'm busy with the seating chart." That was the moment I knew something was deeply wrong. When she finally came home that night, I was ready. The watch was sitting on the coffee table, its scratches and imperfections stark under the living room light. "I got it back from the jeweler," I said. "You tried to engrave it without telling me. Do you understand how much you crossed the line?" She didn't apologize. Instead, she doubled down. "You're being so dramatic about this. I was making it better, more personal for our wedding. If you can't see that, I don't know what to say." "Better? By destroying its original chain and engraving something I didn't approve? Do you even hear yourself? You're blowing this out of proportion. It's not like I pawned it or something." The entitlement in her voice was staggering. This isn't just about the watch. It's about respect. You took something that wasn't yours, changed it without asking, and then acted like I was the one being unreasonable. How am I supposed to marry someone who doesn't respect me or my family's history? Her face turned red. You're calling off the wedding over a stupid watch? You're insane. I didn't say that. I snapped. But if you can't even acknowledge you were wrong here, maybe we do need to rethink things. She stormed off, slamming the door to the bedroom. The next morning, I woke up to find her gone, and the watch gone with her. My heart sank. I called her repeatedly, but she didn't pick up. Hours later, I got a text. Don't worry, the watch is fine. I'll give it back after the wedding like I said. This time, I didn't let my anger blind me. I called the police. I explained the situation carefully, emphasizing that it was a family heirloom and that she had taken it without my consent. It didn't take long for them to find her. She had given the watch to a friend for safekeeping, likely thinking I wouldn't dare involve the authorities. When the police returned it to me, I felt a mix of relief and fury. That night, I sat her down for one final conversation. I reported you to the police, I said bluntly. They returned the watch. The wedding is off. Her face went pale. You called the police? Over me? We're supposed to be partners. A partner doesn't steal. A partner doesn't dismiss their fiancé's feelings or lie to them. This isn't just about the watch anymore, Em. It's about everything this represents. She broke down, crying and begging me to reconsider. She claimed she only wanted the watch to be part of our special day because it meant so much to me. But the damage was done. Her entitlement, her deceit, and her utter lack of respect had shattered whatever trust one had left. In the weeks that followed, she tried everything to get me back. Apologies, gifts, promises to change. Her friends and family even got involved, accusing me of overreacting and ruining her life. But I held firm. A few months later, I heard through mutual friends that she had been telling people I was abusive and controlling, trying to shift the narrative in her favor. But the truth was on my side, and anyone who knew the full story could see through her lies. Reflecting on it all, I'm grateful I found out who she really was before it was too late. That watch, scratched, imperfect, and deeply meaningful, saved me from a lifetime of manipulation and disrespect. After the wedding was officially canceled, the fallout was messier than I could have anticipated. And wasn't just entitled, she was vindictive. She filed a small claims suit against me, claiming I owed her reimbursement for wedding expenses she had personally paid for. The suit didn't hold water. Every major expense, venue deposit, catering, even the dress, had been split between us or covered by my contributions. I kept all the receipts and records because I've always been the kind of guy who likes things organized. When we went to court, her argument crumbled. The judge saw through her theatrics immediately. Her lawyer tried to paint me as the villain, claiming I'd abandoned her at the last minute, leaving her in debt and heartbroken. I calmly presented my evidence, showing that she had misrepresented the situation. By the end of the hearing, not only was her claim dismissed, but I was also awarded compensation for the legal fees I incurred defending myself. Her attempt to weaponize the legal system against me was bad enough, but her next move crossed yet another line. A week after the court ruling, I came home to find that someone had egged my car and left a nasty note on my windshield. The note read, "You'll regret this," in handwriting that looked suspiciously like M's. I reported the incident to the police, filing a harassment complaint. While they couldn't directly tie it to her, I made sure there was a record of everything. Things escalated further when mutual friends started reaching out, saying she was spreading rumors about me being emotionally abusive and unstable. It was infuriating. This was a woman who had stolen from me, lied to me, and tried to rewrite history to make herself the victim. At first, I wanted to stay silent, but the rumors started affecting my reputation. One of my friends even confronted me, asking if I had really controlled her finances and isolated her from her family. That was the last straw. I took to social media and wrote a carefully worded post explaining everything, from the stolen watch to the police involvement, to her attempts to manipulate me during the breakup. I didn't name her directly, but anyone who knew us could piece it together. I included pictures of the watch and the receipt from the jeweler showing the alterations she tried to make. The response was overwhelmingly supportive. People who had doubted me began reaching out to apologize. Mutual friends who had taken her side started distancing themselves from her. One even admitted that M had been pressuring them to spread the rumors. M, of course, was livid. She accused me of airing our dirty laundry and ruining her reputation. I ignored her. The truth was out, and I had no interest in engaging further. The final twist came a few months later. I received a call from the jeweler who had worked on the watch. He told me that a woman, M, had come into his shop again, asking about another piece of jewelry she wanted altered. She had apparently mentioned my name during the conversation, bragging about how she had taught me a lesson. The jeweler, bless his heart, called to warn me because something fell off. That's when it hit me. She might be planning something even worse. I immediately had my home locks changed, installed cameras, and double-checked all my valuables. Sure enough, about a week later, the cameras caught her sneaking around my property late at night. She didn't break in, but she was clearly scouting the place. I called the police again, and this time, they had enough evidence to file charges for trespassing. The satisfaction of seeing her face accountability was unmatched. She was fined and ordered to stay away from me completely under a restraining order. The entitlement and manipulation that had once made me question my own sanity had finally backfired on her, and everyone around us saw her true colors. Looking back, the situation was a nightmare, but it taught me some invaluable lessons. I learned to trust my instincts and to stand up for myself, even when it felt easier to back down. I also learned that entitlement, when unchecked, can spiral into something truly toxic. For anyone out there dealing with someone who doesn't respect your boundaries, let this be your reminder. You don't have to tolerate it. Stand your ground, protect what matters to you, and never let anyone make you feel guilty for doing what's right. Enjoyed this wild ride of drama and revenge? Stick around, I got plenty more stories where this came from. Who knew a pocket watch could unravel so much chaos? Stay tuned.